For decades, the defense manufacturing meant building tanks, aircraft, and missiles, and today it meant something much bigger. This week alone, we saw defense become the largest customer for 3D printed parts. Lockheed Martin secured another major missile contract, and China expanded restrictions on dozens of defense companies. And the US governments invest in domestic critical minerals. At first, you will say, okay, unrelated stories. What's common in them? Nothing. But together, they answer one important question: why is defense becoming one of the biggest forces shaping modern manufacturing? The answer isn't simply because governments are spending more, it's because defense is no longer purchasing finished products. It is rebuilding entire industrial ecosystems. Now let's connect the story. So the first story comes from the additive manufacturing industries. Defense has now become the largest sector using industrial 3D printed components. So the obvious question now should be, why is defense adopting additive manufacturing so quickly? Because modern military equipment requires complex parts, faster production, lighter components, and the ability to manufacture replacement parts quickly. So the traditional manufacturing often requires expensive tooling and long production cycles, but the additive manufacturing allows companies to produce highly complex components with shorter lead times and greater design flexibility. For manufacturers, this means that the defense isn't simply buying equipment anymore, it is accelerating investment in advanced manufacturing technologies that will eventually spread into aerospace, medical devices, automotive, and other industries. But the new production technologies only matter if demand exists, and that's exactly what our second story shows. Lockheed Martin has secured another major contract to produce THAAD missile interceptors. And the first question many people ask is, why are governments placing so many new defense orders? The answer lies in the today's geopolitical environment, because countries are rebuilding inventories, strengthening the missile defense systems, and preparing for the world where supply readiness matters more than just maintaining minimum stock levels. For manufacturers, this isn't simply another defense contracts. Large procurement programs create long-term production schedules that ripple across thousands of suppliers producing electronics, precision machines, castings, composite softwares, and specialized materials. So one defense contract supports an entire manufacturing network. But increasingly, the production is only one side of the story. The other side is who actually has access to those supply chain. Now, the China announced new restrictions targeting dozens of major defense-related companies. Naturally, people may ask, how does this affect manufacturing outside the defense industry? Because today, manufacturing supply chains are deeply interconnected, and many advanced manufacturers rely on the same semiconductor technologies, electronic components, specialty materials, and precision manufacturing capabilities used by the defense companies. As geopolitical tension will increases, manufacturers face stricter export controls, changing supplier relations, and growing pressure to reorganize the production. So this means supply chains are increasingly being shaped by natural security consideration, not just cost and efficiency. So manufacturing has become part of geopolitical strategy, which brings us to the foundation behind every advanced manufacturing industry: raw materials. So the US Department of Defense is supporting projects focused on critical minerals, strategic energy, and domestic resource development. Many people will ask, why is the Defense Department investing in mining and materials? Because you cannot manufacture advanced technologies without secure access to the materials they require. The rare earth elements like lithium, graphite, titanium, and other critical minerals are essential for aerospace systems, electronics, batteries, precision manufacturing, and defense equipment. So instead of relying heavily on the overseas suppliers, governments are increasingly investing in the domestic production capacity to reduce supply chain risk. In other words, defense strategy now starts long before the factory floor. It starts at the source of raw materials. So now let's connect the pattern. So first, now let's step back. Defense becomes the largest customer for additive manufacturing. Lockheed expands long-term production, and China reshapes global industrial relationships, and governments invest in critical minerals. Different headlines, but one unmistakable pattern. Defense is no longer purchasing individual products, it is strengthening every layer of manufacturing, like technology, factories, suppliers, materials, energy, workforce, logistics. So, what we are seeing is the emergence of a much broader defense industrial ecosystem. And once those investments are made, they do not stay inside defense. The same technologies improve commercial aerospace. So the advanced manufacturing equipments benefits medical and industrial production, and critical mineral investments will strengthen the electric vehicles and electronic supply chains. The manufacturing capabilities built for those defense often become the foundation for future industrial competitiveness. So the biggest takeaway that you can take from these all four stories is the biggest manufacturing story this week isn't simply that defense spending is increasing. It is that the defense has become one of the strongest driver of industrial investment. For manufacturers, this creates both opportunities and challenges, and the company's position in advanced manufacturing, precision engineering, materials, electronics, automation, and strategic supply chains are like to see increasing demand. At the same time, geopolitical tensions will continue reshaping where factories are built, where suppliers operate, and how critical materials move around the world. So, the future of manufacturing won't be defined only by the consumer demand, it will also be shaped by national resilience, industrial capacity, and strategic security. And that's why these four headlines are really telling one much bigger story. Defense isn't just changing military production, it is changing the future of manufacturing itself. So if you found this analysis useful, subscribe to the Industriqo. Every week we connect manufacturing stories, identify the bigger industrial patterns, and explain what they mean for manufacturers, suppliers, and decision makers around the world.